Find the maximum of f of x on the interval 0 to pi over 2 inclusive, given that f of x equals 2 plus 3 sine of 2x. Okay? So, first thing we'll think about is derivatives. Yes. Actually, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw out our table of values. And I'm only going to put on here our endpoints so far. And then there'll probably be some critical points in the middle. So, maximum and minimum, first thing we're going to do is find the derivative. But we kind of suspect the maximum would be 5. Because the biggest that sine ever gets is 1. So 2 plus 3 times 1 would be 5. So if we get like 6, we're probably wrong. Okay. So f prime of x equals 2 goes away, so because it's constant. And then we have 3 cosine of 2x times 2. And we get that extra 2 out there because we have a the chain rule multiplied by the derivative of the interior. Fg of x prime equals f prime g of x times g prime of x. And with this g prime of x here is the 2. Okay? And then we'll set this equal to 0. 6 cosine 2x equals 0. Cosine of 2x equals 0. Divide both sides by 6. 2x equals, so cosine equals 0 at pi over 2. Yep, because cosine looks something like, so you have your circle, this is your cosine, this up here is your sine, and so when, change colors, more contrast, too much contrast, maybe sufficient contrast. So here you have 100% cosine, here your cosine is only up to there, your cosine, which is basically your x value, down to there. And so you're going to get 0 for cosine at pi over 2. So this is pi over 2, this is pi, this is 3 pi over 2, and this is back to 0, or affectionately referred to as 2 pi. Okay, so going back here, solve for x, we get x equals pi over 4, because we know that cosine of any value will equal 0 at pi over 2. Also at 3 pi over 2, no. Yes, correct. Also at 3 pi over 2, but our limits here are from 0 to pi over 2. So then solving for x, we get pi over 4, which fits in between our two values. Whoop. And when we plug these values in, green, so f of x of 0 is 2 plus 3 sine of 0. The sine of 0 is 0, so 2 times 3 times 0 is 2. 2 plus 3 times the sine of 0 is, of pi over 2. Okay, so I'm going to do this one. I'm going to write this one out. F of, what was it? Pi over 2? Pi over 2 equals 2 plus 3 sine of pi over 2 times 2. So this will equal 2 plus 3 sine of pi. Pi is, and sine is basically the y value. So when we come over this way, this is pi. So the sine of this would be 0. So we'd again get 2 plus 3 times 0, which would be 2. Okay? 4. Except that one looks like a 9, so I will redo that. There we go. Okay, so then our critical point, as determined earlier, through taking the derivative, will be, nope, not x. Well, I guess it will be x, but that's not where I'm going with this. 2 pi over 4, many parentheses, f of, so disorganized. So disorganized. 2 plus 3 sine of 2 pi over 4, which will be pi over 2. Sine of pi over 2 is 1. And so we'll get what our initial suspicions suspected, which would be 2 plus 3 times 1, which would be 2 plus 3, which will be 5, which does seem to be a maximum. Bam. Yes. So that's how we do this maximum minimum problem.